Module 6, The 80s through the Present. Auto Industry Revival 1980s-90s. The 1980s and 1990s, a time when neon colors, mixtapes, and mullets reigned supreme. But beyond the vibrant pop culture, these decades heralded a significant revitalization of the American auto industry. Settle into your bucket seat, strap on that seatbelt, which, thanks to the 80s and 90s, became increasingly fashionable to use, and let's embark on a road trip through the most exciting developments of the era. The Ford Taurus, an aerodynamic affair. 1986, mullets were in, hair was big, and cars? Well, most were about as aerodynamic as a brick. Enter the Ford Taurus, a refreshing, rounded exception. The Taurus's design was a significant departure from the boxy look of other cars of its time. With its flush, rounded design and a focus on aerodynamics, this car didn't just break the mold, it ran it over. But why mention aerodynamics? Think back to the 1930s, a time when the Cadillac V16 aerodynamic coupe was turning heads. Cadillac had innovatively streamlined the design of its V16, emphasizing aerodynamics way before it was cool. Much like the Ford Taurus, the V16 aerodynamic coupe was a game changer, introducing a new era of car design. The 1986 Taurus, taking inspiration from such trailblazers, pushed the boundaries of traditional design, and in doing so, helped to rejuvenate an industry struggling to keep pace with its international competitors. Saturn, not just a planet. By the late 1980s, the American auto industry, having regained some of its footing, felt adventurous. General Motors, GM, introduced the Saturn program, a daring attempt to compete with Japanese imports, which had been flooding the market. Saturn was more than just a new car brand, it was a philosophy. A different kind of car company, they said. And boy, did they live up to it. With an emphasis on customer service and innovative manufacturing techniques, Saturn carved out a niche for itself. The cars weren't just made, they were crafted, with love, care, and probably a pinch of American dream. Age of the SUVs, size does matter, apparently. As we cruised into the 1990s, America had a new love affair, SUVs. With a burgeoning economy and cheap gas prices, size and power became the order of the day. Families wanted vehicles that could handle the wilderness and the urban jungle. And the auto industry was more than happy to oblige. The 90s SUVs were like the mullets of the automotive world, business in the front, with their luxury interiors, and party in the back, thanks to their ample cargo space. They symbolized freedom, ruggedness, and a touch of suburban aspiration. The rise of SUVs not only changed the landscape of American highways but also played a pivotal role in the auto industry's resurgence. Auto industry's global tango. From the vintage roar of the Model T to the electric purr of today's modern EVs, cars aren't just machines, they're symbols of our ever-evolving culture. And speaking of evolution, the auto industry has been dancing a global tango that has made it the epitome of worldwide partnership and cooperation. Buckle up, dear reader, as we take a drive down the highway of automotive globalization. A transatlantic romance, when the US met Europe. Remember the 80s? Okay, if you don't, trust us, it was a pretty rad time. In the car world, this decade marked the beginning of a romance between American and European automakers. Take, for example, Ford and Volvo. It was like watching a high school romance. Ford was the jock, Volvo, the sophisticated exchange student. In 1999, Ford said, "I think I love you," and acquired Volvo cars. Alas, like many high school romances, it ended in 2010. Yet, these partnerships showed that automakers weren't limited by borders. The Far East Connection, the US and Asia. Moving on to Asia, where the sun rises and so did the ambitions of American automakers. General Motors' acquisition of Daewoo in the early 2000s is a classic tale of seeing potential in the underdog. This allowed GM to have a solid footprint in Asia while giving Daewoo a fighting chance in the larger world. It's kind of like Karate Kid but with cars. Then there's the ongoing saga of Nissan and Renault. Throw in a little Mitsubishi, and you've got yourself a diverse, multicultural family of automakers. Though not purely an American affair, it exemplifies the intercontinental minglings that are so characteristic of our times. South of the border and beyond. It's not just Europe and Asia. Oh no, we've been waltzing around the world. Ever driven a Volkswagen from Mexico or a Mercedes-Benz from Alabama? If so, you've experienced firsthand the result of automakers and suppliers stepping out of their home turf. It's like the plot of a globetrotting movie. US automakers set up factories in Latin America to leverage cost benefits, European companies erect plants in the US for better market access, and everyone seems to be playing musical chairs with manufacturing units. Factories without borders, the true spirit of globalization. Now, here's where the plot thickens. While car brands often shout their country of origin from the rooftops, or, more accurately, from their car commercials, the factories themselves might be continents away. Toyota may be as Japanese as sushi, but they've planted roots deep in the heart of Texas. And BMW? They've set up shop in sunny South Carolina. The reality? Cars have more mixed heritage than a shelter pup, and are just as lovable. The interdependence means that a car can have a German badge, American design, and a heart, engine, built in South Korea. The benefits? Multiple. Consumers get better prices, companies can dodge tariffs, and the local communities often get an employment boost. But of course, it's not always rosy. Cultural clashes, quality control, and geopolitics can throw a wrench, pun intended, into the global automotive machinery. Full throttle to the brink and back, the great American auto comeback. Well, here we are, parked at the finale of our automotive odyssey, and what a ride it's been. If life is a highway, then the late 2000s were a series of treacherous switchbacks for the big three, General Motors, Ford, and Chrysler. The U.S. auto industry, once cruising smoothly in the fast lane, found itself caught in a storm, teetering on the edge of a cliff. Let's pop the hood on this, shall we? The bend in the road, the near collapse. Remember the global financial crisis of the late 2000s? Oh, who could forget? The global economy was having its worst hangover, homes were being foreclosed left, right, and center, and Uncle Sam's wallet was feeling lighter than ever. Amidst this chaos, GM and Chrysler ran out of gas financially. Ford, on the other hand, seemed to have packed an extra jerry can, avoiding the direct hit. Enter Uncle Sam, the mechanic. Now, if you're thinking the US government just stood by, twiddling its thumbs, you'd be wrong. The powers that be didn't want to see the backbone of the American industrial spirit turned into a junkyard. The government rolled up its sleeves, or should I say, revved up its engines? And introduced a rescue plan to jumpstart GM and Chrysler. Ah, the good old American bailout. Looking in the rear view, 10 years later. A decade post-rescue, the benefits became clearer than a freshly cleaned windshield after a mud storm. Not only did the bailout save millions of jobs and prevent a total collapse of the supply chain, but GM and Chrysler also paid back a significant chunk of the loans. The auto industry shifted gears, moving towards more sustainable and innovative solutions. Electric vehicles, anyone? The unexpected detour, the 2020-21 pandemic. But just when you think the road ahead is clear, life throws a curveball, or in this case, a pandemic. COVID-19 made the world slam on the brakes. Factories were shuttered, sales dipped, and the scent of fresh car leather was replaced by that of hand sanitizers. However, like a phoenix, or a refurbished classic car, the auto industry is showing signs of a revival. Innovations skyrocketed as companies diversified. Ventilators produced by car manufacturers, anyone? On the horizon, the future of the auto industry. With electric dreams and autonomous ambitions, the direction of the auto industry seems brighter and greener. The lessons of the past have paved the way for a future where adaptability and resilience might just be the new horsepower. So, as we take the exit ramp from this narrative, remember, every bump and detour in the journey of the big three has made the drive worthwhile. They've shifted from near downfall to drive-through success, reminding us that in the automotive world, and perhaps in life, it's not about the destination, but the journey. Until next time, keep those engines purring and wheels turning. Safe travels.